Okay, in this episode, we're going to create the ability to turn sharing off and on with a Boolean. And then we're going to, if it's on, we're going to generate a unique share token per contract. So first we need to create two fields in our database. The first one is going to be the share token itself. And let's see, add share token to contract. And share token will be a string. We'll go ahead and index that so that it's, when we try to find it later, it'll be quick to find. And then we need to add our Boolean field. Let's call that is sharing. Okay, so let's go ahead and migrate. There we go. Looks like everything was created successfully. So now we want to open up our controller, and we need to permit the is sharing Boolean in our contract params. And then we're going to open our view, and I'm just pasting in some code here. So basically this is going to check our, or it's going to add a checkbox, and then we're going to attach the vModel contract is sharing, and then we just have a label, and then if the contract is sharing, if that's true, then we're going to output a share URL. Okay, so I got it straightened up. So there's our Boolean. We check it, save it, and you can see it doesn't look like it's saving. So let's go figure that out. No errors. Let's go look at our JSON. So we're not outputting the is sharing yet. So let's add that in. So maybe it was saving, it just wasn't showing that it was saved. So there we go. That looks better. Now we refresh, it's still there. So now we need this share URL that isn't defined anywhere. So basically, if the contract is sharing, then we want to output the share URL. So we'll add an if statement here, and then put our share URL. And then we're going to end up creating a controller and a route for this request to share the contract. Okay, so let's add our route. So we only want the show route at this time. Okay, so we're not getting anything back now, so I think we're getting an error. So let's see what our error is in our JSON. Oh, it should be share path. But let's go ahead and put the full URL. Okay, so now different issue. Since we set the contract, the sharing right now is true, but we don't have a token to input. So that path is looking for an ID or something to be passed in, but there's nothing to be passed in. So let's make our method to create our token. So we're going to do that in our contract model, and we're going to create a before save action. We'll call it set sharing. Go ahead and define that. So first off, we don't want to do anything if the is sharing hasn't changed. So let's just go ahead and return unless is sharing changed. So but if it did change, we want to see if it's sharing, we want to go ahead and create the token and save the token as the share token. We'll delegate that to a method called generate token. And if sharing changed but we're not sharing, then we want to set the token to just nil so that it'll reset. Okay, so that looks right. Next, we need to define the generate token method. So here we're just going to, so this token has to be unique. So we want to loop, we want to generate like a random token using secure random, and we want to check to make sure that token doesn't exist before we break out of the loop. So we're going to break with the token unless that share token already exists. So where share token exists. Alright, so that looks good. Now let's see if it works. Okay, so we've set our contract to be sharing, but that was before we created the generate token method. So we don't have a token yet. But we'll go ahead and put a safety measure in here to just make sure that, hey, we better have a token if we're going to output this URL. So now we get our JSON. So it's not trying to output that URL, but we also don't have a URL. So let's reset it. So that should set our token to nil. And now if we set it back to true, boom, there's our token. So we get a token, we get a link, and so now we're ready to share this unique share URL. That works pretty good. So next we'll actually create the controller and the action and the logic to share this contract without the editing capabilities, of course, but with the ability for someone to be able to sign it.